You read a story about the Williams sisters. In the story, you saw examples of adverbial clauses. Now, let's pause really quick and think about this. What are clauses? Remember from previous lessons, clauses are groups of words that have a subject and a verb. Adverbs are words that describe verbs. They give more information or modify verbs. So an adverbial clause is a set of a subject and a verb, a group of words with a subject and a verb that are giving more information or describing a verb in another clause. So adverbial clauses always start with an adverb. We're looking at adverbial clauses that have to do with time. So we use an adverb clause to show time relationships. How does one clause relate to another? After is a common adverb used in adverbial clauses, and it is used to describe when an action is happening first. So, for example, after she wins, she often dances in the air. Which action is happening first? She wins or she often dances in the air? She wins happens first, and then she often dances in the air. So after she wins is an adverbial clause. It's describing when the verb dancing happens. So she often dances in the air is our independent clause, and after she wins is describing when that verb dancing happens. It happens after she wins. She got a job after she graduated. Which action happened first, getting a job or graduating? Graduating happened first, and then she got a job. And remember, after she graduated is the adverbial clause that's describing when did the get happen? When did that verb got for got a job occur? It happened after she graduated. When is another common adverb used in adverbial clauses. When means at that time. So they had met here before in 2002 and 2003 when Serena beat her older sister both times. The meaning is that they met here in 2002 and in 2003 in the past, and both of those times Serena beat her older sister. When I arrived, he was talking on the phone. So at the time that I arrived, he was talking on the phone. I will ask him when I see him tomorrow. So when will I ask him? I'll do it when or at the time that I see him tomorrow. In all of these adverbial clauses, the when adverbial clause is describing the time that the main clause verb happened. So when was talking on the phone occurred? When I arrived. Or when will I ask? When I see him tomorrow. As and while both have the same meaning during that time. As is a little more formal, but both of them have the same meaning and can be used in almost any sentence. As the sisters battled on the court that day, Venus won straight sets and proved to be the better player. So during the time that the sisters were battling on the court, Venus won straight sets and proved to be the better player. It was raining while I was walking home. Both of these could be switched around. So while the sisters battled on the court that day, or it was raining as I was walking home. By the time means one event is completed before another event. By the time Serena got to the other side of the court, the ball had already hit the ground. So the action of the ball hitting the ground is completed, it's finished before this next event happens where Serena gets to the other side of the court. So the ball hits the ground and that's done before Serena gets to the other side of the court. Or by the time Serena got to the other side of the court, the ball had already hit the ground. By the time he arrived, we had already left. So the leaving, we left, that was finished before the next event happened, which is he arrived. By the time he arrived. Now, with all of these examples, not just by the time, but after, when, as long as, all of these examples, you can put the adverbial clause at the beginning or the end of the sentence. However, if you start a sentence with an adverbial clause, you need a comma after it's done. Since means from that time to the present. We know this from studying our perfect tenses, especially present perfect. So ever can also be added to add emphasis that it was this entire time, this whole time from point one to the present. I haven't seen him since he left this morning. So he left this morning was the beginning point in time, and I haven't seen him that entire time from when I left this morning up until now. I've known her ever since she was a child. So I've known her, and the period of time that I've known her, it started when she was a child and continues till now. Ever since ever is added to add emphasis that it's the entire time. Even back when she was a child, I still knew her all the way until now. Until and till both mean to that time and no longer. Till is used more in spoken English and isn't used in formal English or usually used in written English at all. We stayed there until we finished our work. This means that verb staying there, it happens all the way up until or up to the point in time where we finished our work, and then it stopped. It didn't go longer than that. We didn't stay after we finished our work, but we stayed before and up until this point in time. It's kind of the opposite of since. We stayed there till we finished our work. Same meaning, until. The only difference is till is more common when people are speaking. We stayed there till we finished our work. And it's usually not written, so we would usually write until. As soon as and once have the same meaning. When one event happens, another event happens soon afterward. As soon as the game began, everyone could see that both players were playing hard. This has the meaning of when the game began, right after that, or soon afterward, everyone could see both players were playing hard. The people were able to see that the players are playing hard after the game began, or soon after the game began. As soon as can show at something that happened at almost the exact same time, or it can be a little bit later, but it's usually used to describe something that happened right at the same time or close to the same time. Once it stops raining, we will leave. So soon after it stops raining, we will leave, or as soon as close to the same time that it stops raining, we will leave. Both of these can be interchanged. Keep in mind that once has other meanings besides adverbs for adverbial clause. So I can say that I bought this item once, meaning I bought it one time, not two times. And that's a different meaning than here where we have once that means when one event happens, another event happens soon afterward. As soon as it stops raining, we will leave. As long as and so long as have the same meaning also. They mean during all that time or from beginning to end. So Venus said she would never stop being her sister's biggest fan as long as she lived, meaning the entire time that she lives, she will not stop being her sister's biggest fan. I will never speak to him again as long as I live, meaning that from the entire time, beginning to end of my life, I will never speak to him again. You will do what I say so long as you live in my house. From the time now until the end of living in my house, you will do what I say. For as long as and so long as, you can exchange these, interchange them, and it does not change the meaning. So I will never speak to him again so long as I live, or I will never speak to him again as long as I live, have the same meaning. Whenever means every time something happens, and it's often used to emphasize no specific time, but it's just any time this might happen. Whenever she scored a point, she glowed with confidence, meaning every time that she scored a point, the independent clause happened. She glowed with confidence. I try to use olive oil whenever possible. So, as long as it is possible, anytime or every time that it's possible, I try to use olive oil. Both of these examples, there's not a specific time that they're talking about. It's not at this specific hour or minute or a section of the game. It was every time she scored a point or every time that it's possible. So let's practice. Look at the time relationships in each pair of sentences and combine the sentences into one sentence using the words in parentheses, the adverbs of time. So, number one, the Williams sisters had played each other many times before, and they met in the finals at Wimbledon in 2008. Combine those two sentences into one with the adverb when. Do the same for number 2, 3, 4, and 5. You can pause the video and write out your answers or make a note of your answers. Then, when you're ready, press play and we'll go over the answers together. So number 1, the Williams sisters had played each other many times before. They met in the finals at Wimbledon in 2008. We want to use when to go with the clause they met in the finals at Wimbledon. The Williams sisters had played each other many times before when they met in the finals at Wimbledon. So at that time of meeting, they had played many times before. So we want to use the tense that's in these sentences. So they met in the finals at Wimbledon. That's a specific time in the past, and had played each other is a time before that time in the past. So we use when to go with the simple past sentence. Number 2, Venus started to feel more confident as she started to play better. Now, just as a reminder, you can change around these sentences, and in this example, as can go with either clause. We could say Venus started to feel more confident as she started to play better at the same time, or as Venus started to feel more confident, she started to play better. Now, the clause that is connected with as usually has the idea that that happened first, or that's the cause. So Venus started to feel more confident as she started to play better, meaning that the confidence came first. As she started to play better was the cause, and Venus started to feel better as a result of that. Number 2, as Venus started to feel more confident, she started to play better. This sentence has the meaning that first, Venus was feeling more confident, and then because of that, she started to feel better. They're happening at the same time, but the clause with as is the cause. Number 3, Serena started to get upset when she started to lose. Now, we could also say, when Serena started to get upset, she started to lose. Just like in as, the meaning is slightly different depending on the clause that we used. So Serena started to get upset when she started to lose. It's the idea that both of them were happening at the same time. When Serena started to get upset, she started to lose also has the meaning that both were happening at the same time. So there's no real difference in meaning between these two. After Venus won, she was excited but kind to her sister. So we know that the winning happens first from the story that we read. After Venus won, she was excited but kind to her sister. Number 5, after they played the final singles match in the morning, the Williams sisters won the doubles final in the afternoon. So we know that morning comes before afternoon, therefore morning needs the after adverb. The next practice works a little differently. Add the words in parentheses to the correct place in each sentence. Make sure you add commas and capitalization as necessary. So, for example, Anya listened to some music. She was working at her computer. We want to add the adverb while to this sentence. So the answer would be Anya listened to some music while she was working at her computer. These two items happened at the same time. So read 1 through 4 and write your answers on a piece of paper or make a mental note of your answers. Click the pause button to stop the video and finish your answers. When you're ready, click play and we'll review the answers together. Number 1, before I go to bed, I always brush my teeth. We know that the brushing of teeth needs to happen first. So before I go to bed, I always brush my teeth. Number 2, ever since I was a child, I've been interested in butterflies. The tense of the sentence helps us know where ever since needs to go. Ever since needs to go with the beginning point in time, and the present perfect tense have been interested. That helps us know that is the action that happened from the beginning up until now. So ever since goes with the simple past beginning point in time. I was a child. Ever since I was a child, from that point up until now, I have been interested in butterflies. Number 3, I'm going to meet some friends after I leave class today. So leaving class means we're going away from class to something else. So after fits that clause best. I'm going to meet some friends. That happens second. First, I leave the class. Number 4. When people speak English too fast, Oscar can't catch the meaning. So we want to look at which action. They both are going to occur at close to the same time, but we want to connect when with the idea that is the cause or might be the initial item. So when people speak English too fast, what happens next is Oscar can't catch the meaning. They happen almost at the same time, but the people speaking English too fast is the first action or the cause of the second action. So we put the adverb of when with people speak English too fast.